Good day. Heard a story by Ramana Maharshi about these 10 very simple men that crossed a raging river. And they got across, and to make sure that they were all together, they decided to count each other to make sure we had all 10. And the first simple man looked around and counted all of his friends, and he only counted 9 because he didn't count himself, because he was just looking outward. And he said, "Oh no, we've lost one of our men." And the other simple man said, "Oh my goodness, I'll count too." And so he counted, and each one went and counted, and each one got only 9 because each one forgot himself. And in the end, they thought they had lost their friend, and they started to cry. And someone came up to them and said, "What's going on? All you men are crying." A spectacle, 10 of them by the shore. And they said, "Well, we've lost a friend. There was 10 of us, and now there's only 9." And after a simple conversation, the passerby realized that these were simple men, and he said, "I'll show you. You have all 10 of you still. And everybody line up in a row, and when I point to you, count. And we're going to count all the way, and when we get to the end, we're going to find our 10th man." And so he did so and pointed to one. And the man said 1, pointed to the next, and that man said 2, and all the way up to the last man, the passerby pointed, and the man said 10, and they all said, we found our missing man." And the problem was with these simple men, they forgot themselves. And so this is our problem as well. We forget ourselves. We forget ourselves when we're feeling anything but exhilaration and thankfulness and bliss and peace and love. Really what's happening is we're forgetting ourselves. We're forgetting our real nature, and we're getting wrapped up in personality. Here's the challenge. When we think we are our body, which is the number one challenge for people, especially in the West here, in the United States, but all over the world, we think are our body, or we think we are our personality, right? This thing that we've made up that comes from what we've been told throughout our lives and the thoughts that we've had. Man, it's just prime for being anxious. So whenever we feel lonely, the real challenge here is we forgot ourselves. Because the real essence of us is energy based. It's love. It's this thing that doesn't die. And only the personality can be lonely, making up this separation between them and me. But the real part of you is connected to everyone. You can feel very connected to somebody because you love them when they're not right in front of you, but you've just made up in your mind, oh, that connection's still there. And when I'm lonely, I've just made up in my mind that connection is no longer there. But it's just made up. Whenever you're feeling anxious, the reason you're anxious is because you've forgotten yourself. Anxiety, what it is, it's fear. It's fear that you don't have anything in particular to place it on. And so when you feel anxious, it's really fear. And what's happening, fear comes from thoughts. You've confused who you are with thoughts. And this thought is thinking, I'm not going to have enough. It's going to go bad. I'm going to be harmed. People that I care about are going to be harmed. And these thoughts you've confused as true and who you are, and it produces anxiety. You've confused whenever you are embodying frustration or anger, annoyance. All that is it's really anger. It's an underlying anger that hasn't been realized, and we call it, I'm just annoyed. Well, the problem with that is, or really the confusion is, you have this inner anger that is frustrated, not being connected to the peaceful state that you really long for, and that results in anger or frustration, right, or annoyance, really. And what has to happen to get past that is really stillness. And that's the problem that most of us face, is we don't still have. So how do we remember ourselves? Well, the solution is being still. I don't know if there's another way. You can't think yourself out of this stuff. You got to be still. That's the beauty of meditation. But it's not just a repeating of a mantra. It's really being still and actually going into those problems, the loneliness, the anxiousness, the anger, all those things. Feels like you're giving yourself into those. That's why most people don't want to stay still. They want to take medication to cover it up. They want to have more activity to cover it up, and so they have to think about it. But in the stillness, what we realize is behind those things, the anxiety, the fear, the loneliness, the anger, the annoyance, behind that, there's an empty space that we just assume is bad, is going to make us suffer more. But in that emptiness, we find really it's our power source. You can only tap into that by being still. And a really great question when you're in stillness is who am I? That was what Ramana Maharshi always told people. So who am I? Am I my body? No. Am I my thoughts? No. And you can go through that whole exercise, realizing at the end that the things that are causing us suffer is not us at all. It's something else. And the voyage that we're on looking for happiness isn't an outside destination we'll get to. It's really an inside destination that's always been there. And every time we look outward, what we're doing is we're moving away from the thing we're looking for. Something to think about today.